When everything around you begins to fall apart, when certainty turns into fog, plans dissolve into silence and the world seems to lose its shape, you may start to wonder if there is any intelligence at all guiding this chaos. But what if the collapse itself is the proof? What if every ending, every delay, every detour you've cursed was in truth an unseen force rearranging the puzzle pieces of your life so that they would finally fit together in a way your mind could never have planned? This is where our journey begins, in the mystery of what feels like loss but is actually divine reorganization. There is a quiet rhythm pulsing beneath your confusion, a current that does not stop moving even when you've stopped believing. It lives in the timing of encounters, in the sudden clarity that follows despair, in the way one door closes only to direct you toward a path that feels strangely familiar. The chaos is not punishment, it is instruction. Every collapse is a coded message, every silence an invitation to listen differently. The universe does not speak in words, it speaks in patterns, timing, and energy. In this exploration, we will pierce the illusion of randomness and reveal how the most painful seasons of your life have always been working in your favor. We will dive into the spiritual and energetic evidence that there is a living intelligence not outside of you, but through you, an invisible architecture rearranging your existence with a precision your logic cannot yet comprehend. The chaos is not against you, it is the hand that shapes you into alignment. There are moments in life when everything seems to fall apart at once. Relationships crumble, opportunities vanish, your sense of direction collapses into fog. It is in these moments, when everything you've built begins to dissolve, that the hidden architecture of the universe reveals itself in disguise. Most people misinterpret the dismantling of their old life as failure or punishment, but in truth, this is the sacred moment of rearrangement. The universe cannot construct something aligned with your higher purpose while you are still clinging to structures built from fear, guilt, and survival. So it begins to remove the pieces that no longer fit, no matter how much you love them, no matter how hard you fight to hold on. You may feel as though the ground beneath you is disappearing, but what is actually happening is a recalibration of your energetic foundation. The vibration that once sustained your old identity no longer resonates with who you are becoming. That dissonance creates friction, and friction is what cracks the shell. You are not being destroyed, you are being restructured. When chaos enters your life, it is not evidence that you are off your path, it is evidence that you have outgrown it. You are being redirected toward a frequency that matches your next level of consciousness. From a spiritual and energetic perspective, every form of chaos is communication. It speaks the language of disruption, of endings and collapses, because that is often the only way the universe can get your attention. Human beings rarely change when things are comfortable. They evolve when comfort becomes impossible. That discomfort is not cruelty, it is sacred pressure, forcing you to confront the gap between what your soul knows and what your mind still resists. The dismantling is not punishment, it is alignment in progress. The energy of transformation moves in spirals, not straight lines. You are not circling back to your old wounds by accident. You are revisiting them from a higher altitude, gathering the fragments of yourself that were left behind. Each emotional trigger, each disappointment, is an invitation to integrate the part of you that still believes you are powerless. The universe brings back these echoes not to torture you, but to offer you the chance to rewrite the energetic agreement you made with your past. Healing is not forgetting, it is remembering without pain. It is crucial to understand that this intelligence, the one that orchestrates endings and beginnings, operates beyond human timing. The mind wants immediate resolution. It wants to know the why of everything. But divine intelligence is not linear. It unfolds according to resonance. What is meant for you does not arrive when you want it. It arrives when you can hold it without fear. Until that moment, you will be placed in situations that expose your resistance, not to punish you, but to train you to become a vessel strong enough for what is coming. Patience, in this sense, is not waiting. It is energetic preparation. Consider how every closed door in your past eventually revealed its hidden mercy. The job you didn't get led you to an opportunity that expanded your life in ways you could not have imagined. The person who left freed you to meet yourself. The moment you called failure taught you self-respect, boundaries, and discernment. What if the universe has never denied you anything, but only redirected you from what would have cost your peace? What if every delay was a deliberate pause for your own protection? The mind interprets delay as absence, but in the language of energy, delay is refinement. It means the conditions are still adjusting to meet the frequency of your new identity. The evidence of a guiding force is subtle but constant. It lives in the timing of your encounters, in the way synchronicities appear when you are about to give up, in how answers arrive disguised as obstacles. That coincidental encounter that shifts your entire path, that last-minute detour that keeps you from harm, that intuitive nudge that saves you from a wrong decision, all of these are markers of divine precision. The universe speaks through pattern, repetition, and resonance. If the same theme keeps appearing in your life, it is not random. It is curriculum. It means the universe is still trying to teach you something essential for your evolution. There is also an energetic law that underlies this process. Coherence attracts coherence. When your internal state becomes chaotic, your external world begins to mirror that vibration until you restore harmony within. This is why chaos outside is always an invitation to reorder yourself inside. The external world does not create your suffering. It exposes where your vibration has drifted out of alignment. The force that works in your favor does not eliminate your pain. It uses it as material for transformation. Every trigger, every disappointment, every silence is clay in the hands of your evolution. When you begin to see chaos as collaboration instead of opposition, everything changes. You stop fighting the process and start listening to its rhythm. You start asking, what is this trying to show me, instead of why is this happening to me? That shift in perception is the beginning of mastery. It transforms pain into language, suffering into guidance, confusion into initiation. The universe is not a judge keeping score. It is a mirror reflecting your readiness. The moment you start cooperating with the dismantling, you step into the stream of your own becoming. To understand the depth of this truth, look at nature. Forests burn so new ecosystems can thrive. Rivers flood so stagnant soil can breathe again. Even the stars collapse into themselves to give birth to galaxies. Nothing is wasted in the economy of the universe. What looks like destruction is always a form of renewal. Your life is no different. When everything seems to be falling apart, it is because your old vibrational ecosystem has completed its cycle. The new cannot emerge until the old has dissolved. So the next time you find yourself in chaos, remember this. You are not being undone. You are being rewritten. You are not being punished. You are being purified. You are not losing control. You are being liberated from illusions of control that kept you small. Somewhere in the unseen, there is a force arranging the exact sequence of events required for your evolution. The path may not make sense now, but sense is a luxury of hindsight. Trust is the language of the present. And when you begin to trust the timing of your own unraveling, you stop fearing the unknown and start walking with it. Because in truth, the unknown has always been the only place where miracles happen. There is a strange paradox that lives inside every human being, a deep yearning to evolve and an equally deep fear of what evolution demands. You want transformation, yet resist the dismantling it requires. You want clarity, yet cling to the very confusion that keeps you safe. This inner conflict is the birthplace of all resistance, and it is within resistance that the most sacred dialogue between you and the universe unfolds. It is a silent conversation between the part of you that still believes control equals safety, and the part that already knows surrender is the only way home. Resistance is not your enemy. It is the threshold between your current self and the one that is waiting to emerge. Every time you resist, you are standing at a doorway, trembling before a version of you that you cannot yet comprehend. The mind calls this fear. The soul calls it expansion. That trembling is the friction between identity and essence, between the familiar and the infinite. When you begin to see resistance not as failure, but as confirmation that you are on the edge of becoming, everything shifts. You stop condemning your hesitation and start listening to what it is trying to tell you. Surrender does not mean giving up. It means releasing your attachment to how you think things should unfold so that life can reveal a greater design. Control is rooted in fear, fear of loss, fear of pain, fear of the unknown. Surrender is rooted in trust, the knowing that even if you cannot see the path, there is a rhythm guiding your every step. In spiritual and energetic terms, surrender is coherence. It is when your thoughts, emotions, and actions align with a single intention. to move in harmony with the intelligence of the universe instead of in opposition to it. Imagine for a moment that your life is an ocean. Control is trying to command the waves. Surrender is learning to move with the tide. The current doesn't ask for your permission, it only asks for your cooperation. When you resist, you exhaust yourself swimming against it. When you surrender, the same current that once felt violent becomes the force that carries you forward. The energy that once felt like chaos reveals itself as order, and the unknown becomes your ally instead of your enemy. What most people misunderstand is that surrender does not begin in the mind. It begins in the nervous system. You cannot surrender while your body is still in a state of survival. When the body is tense, when the breath is shallow, when the mind is racing, your system is not in alignment with trust. It is preparing for threat. The universe can send you all the signs in the world, but if your physiology is locked in defense, you won't be able to receive them. This is why spiritual surrender is inseparable from somatic safety. You must teach your body that it is safe to let go. Only then can your energy return to flow. As you begin to quiet the need for control, you will notice that your perception starts to expand. The small details you once dismissed become meaningful again. Synchronicities begin to multiply. You think of a person and they call. You dream of a path and it appears. You stop chasing and start noticing. This is not coincidence, it is resonance. The moment you stop forcing outcomes, your frequency becomes clear enough for the universe to respond in kind. The signals you once drowned out with mental noise now reach you effortlessly. In this state, the dialogue between resistance and surrender turns into harmony. Resistance becomes a whisper saying, "You are about to outgrow this." Surrender becomes the breath that says, "I trust what comes next." Together, they form the rhythm of transformation. The more you practice surrender, the more you realize that the universe was never withholding anything from you. It was waiting for you to stop gripping the old reality so tightly that your hands were too full to receive the new one. The energy of surrender is not passive. It is active participation in alignment. It is choosing to meet life without the armor of expectation. It is the courage to show up in uncertainty without needing to control how the story ends. When you operate from this space, your energy becomes magnetic. You no longer attract experiences that mirror fear. You attract experiences that mirror trust. People who meet you in this vibration will feel your calm as safety, your authenticity as invitation, your stillness as strength. This is how surrender transforms not only your inner world, but also your external reality. There is a profound intelligence behind every delay and every detour. The moment you begin to see this, you stop labeling experiences as good or bad and start reading them as data from the field. You begin to ask, what frequency was I embodying when this appeared? Rather than, why did this happen to me? That question changes everything. It moves you from victimhood to authorship, from confusion to awareness. You start to realize that resistance was never punishment. It was feedback. It was life's way of saying, this is not your frequency anymore. In moments of deep surrender, you will often feel the paradox of stillness and motion existing together. On the surface, nothing may seem to change, but internally, entire timelines are shifting. Opportunities begin to form in the unseen. Relationships that align with your new vibration start finding their way toward you. The silence that once felt unbearable becomes fertile space for divine timing to operate. You may not notice it immediately, but the current has changed direction. The same river that once dragged you through debris now flows with purpose, carrying you toward clarity. To live in surrender is to recognize that the universe is not external. It is an extension of your own consciousness. When you surrender to life, you are not bowing to a higher power outside of yourself. You are aligning with the intelligence that has always been within you. This realization is what dissolves fear. Because once you understand that you and the universe are not separate, how can you ever be truly lost? Every challenge becomes communication, every loss becomes calibration, every ending becomes the sacred choreography of evolution. So when you find yourself torn between holding on and letting go, remember this: resistance is a sign that you are standing on sacred ground. Something in you knows that the life you've been living is too small for the person you are becoming. Surrender is not the opposite of power. It is the activation of it. It is the moment you stop fighting what is and start cooperating with what wants to emerge through you. And when that happens, chaos loses its teeth, fear loses its grip, and what once felt unbearable becomes the initiation you were always meant to survive. Because in the quiet balance between resistance and surrender, you finally remember that the universe was never against you. It was waiting for you to trust it enough to move with it. Somewhere between logic and intuition lies the most mysterious form of communication the universe has with you: synchronicity. These are the moments that seem too precise to be random. A phrase you needed to hear appearing in a stranger's conversation, a song playing at the exact moment your heart begins to break, a chance encounter that alters the direction of your entire life. You call them coincidences because your mind cannot measure their pattern, but the soul recognizes them as responses from the invisible field. Synchronicity is how the universe speaks, when words are too limited to carry meaning. It is the bridge between the physical and the metaphysical, between thought and manifestation. To understand this language, you must first recognize that reality itself is participatory. You are not simply moving through life. Life is moving through you. Every emotion, every thought, every vibration you emit interacts with the quantum field, shaping the probabilities that unfold as your experience. This is not poetry. It is physics translated through consciousness. The field is not judging your worthiness. It is responding to your resonance. When your energy is coherent, aligned between intention and emotion, it becomes a clear signal, and the universe echoes that signal back in the form of synchronicities. When you are fragmented, divided between fear and desire, the signal becomes static and what you call bad luck begins to appear. In truth, it is not punishment, but feedback. The field is showing you what frequency you are currently broadcasting. Think of it like tuning a radio. When the station is aligned, the music plays effortlessly. When it is slightly off, distortion fills the space. Synchronicity is the sound of clarity. It is the moment when your internal vibration and the external field meet in perfect resonance. And because most people live surrounded by noise, fear, distraction, expectation, these moments feel miraculous when they occur. Yet they are not miracles. They are natural expressions of alignment. The extraordinary becomes ordinary when coherence becomes your baseline. The key to recognizing synchronicity is presence. The universe speaks softly. Its messages live in subtleties. The more frantic your mind, the less you can hear them. Modern life conditions you to seek signs in grand displays, but divine communication prefers quiet repetition. It speaks through numbers, patterns, recurring symbols, songs, or names that appear too often to ignore. If something continues to resurface in your awareness, it is not coincidence. It is calibration. The field keeps echoing until you listen. Each repetition is the universe asking, "Are you awake yet?" It is also essential to remember that synchronicities are not always confirmations. Sometimes they are warnings. A door closing 3 times in different forms might mean stop, not persist. The ego often wants to interpret every sign as approval, but true discernment requires emotional neutrality. You must be willing to read the message without bending it to fit your desire. The language of the universe is symbolic, not literal. It will use whatever image or event can best mirror your current vibration. That is why the same symbol can mean liberation to one person and closure to another. The field personalizes its communication according to your inner state. Synchronicities often intensify when you are on the verge of a major shift. It is as if reality itself begins to shimmer, reminding you that you are standing at a crossroads. The path you choose will amplify the vibration you are currently embodying. The more you align with authenticity, the stronger and more frequent these signals become. They are like breadcrumbs leading you toward the timeline that matches your evolution. But if you ignore them long enough, they fade, not because they stop existing, but because you drift back into dissonance, into the noise that drowns out your own intuition. What most people call luck is simply the consistency of alignment. Those who seem blessed are not favored by destiny. They are attuned to its rhythm. They have learned to move with the current instead of demanding that the river change direction. They trust timing, they act when prompted, and they rest when the energy retreats. Their synchronicities multiply because their resistance has diminished. They are no longer chasing signs, they are living as one. There is also a deeper layer to this conversation, what Carl Jung called meaningful coincidence. Jung observed that when the inner world of thought, dream, and feeling aligns with the outer world of events, the result is a moment charged with purpose, a point where psyche and matter intersect. These intersections are not accidents. They are the fingerprints of the unseen order. You can feel their significance in your body before your mind can explain them. The hair on your arms rises, your chest expands, and something within you whispers, "Pay attention." This somatic recognition is not superstition. It is intuition acknowledging resonance. But synchronicity is not meant to be worshipped. It is meant to be understood. The purpose of the sign is not to distract you with fascination, but to direct you toward awareness. Every sign eventually points back to the same truth. The external world is a mirror of your internal one. When you become fluent in that language, the need for external validation diminishes. You begin to move through life as if the field and your consciousness are in conversation, co-creating experience through mutual recognition. To reach this state, humility is essential. You cannot force the universe to speak faster than you can understand. The rhythm of revelation is perfectly timed to your readiness. When you are aligned, you will not need to demand proof. Proof will find you in ways so subtle and specific that denial becomes impossible. You will realize that the same intelligence that guides the stars also arranges the details of your daily life. It does not shout, it orchestrates. And this is perhaps the most beautiful realization of all. Synchronicity is not something you chase, it is something you become. The more coherent you are, the more the world begins to reflect that coherence back to you. People appear when they are meant to. Opportunities arrive exactly when your energy can sustain them. Even obstacles reveal timing so precise it defies logic. You begin to see that nothing was random. Not the heartbreaks, not the delays, not even the detours. Every moment was part of the same symphony, tuning you into harmony with the field. In the end, synchronicity is not about signs or symbols. It is about relationship. It is your ongoing dialogue with the divine pattern that breathes through all things. The more fluently you speak this language, the more life speaks back. And in that conversation, you discover that you were never wandering in chaos at all. You were being guided by an intelligence so vast and precise that every apparent coincidence was, in truth, the universe whispering your name. There is an ancient rhythm in the universe that few recognize until they are forced into silence by the storm. Chaos is not a failure of order. It is the pulse of renewal. Every system, from galaxies to human hearts, must occasionally dissolve into disorder so it can reorganize at a higher level of coherence. What feels like collapse is often the prelude to clarity. When everything familiar breaks apart, the deeper intelligence of life begins its invisible labor, removing what no longer resonates with your frequency and preparing the conditions for your next expansion. Chaos is sacred because it dismantles illusion. The human mind builds elaborate structures of comfort, routine, and identity, mistaking them for permanence. But the universe has no interest in maintaining false stability. Its purpose is evolution. It does not care for your ego's need to feel safe inside repetition. It cares for your soul's need to awaken through experience. So when you refuse to move, life begins to move you. It shakes the ground beneath your feet until the mask cracks and truth seeps through. The shattering is not cruelty. It is intervention. Every chaotic event carries coded intelligence. The sudden breakup, the unexpected loss, the failure that humbles you, all of them are spiritual earthquakes designed to reveal the foundations you have been standing on. Were they built on authenticity or fear, on purpose or performance? Chaos shows you the difference. It strips away what is artificial, forcing you to confront the core of your being without distraction. This is why chaos feels unbearable to the ego. It cannot survive in truth. But to the soul, chaos is medicine. It clears the stagnant energy that keeps you bound to repetition and opens the portal to transformation. From an energetic perspective, chaos functions like a recalibration of frequency. Imagine that your energy field is a symphony. Over time, unhealed emotions, suppressed truths, and external influences detune the instruments. The melody of your being becomes distorted. Then, life sends chaos, a sudden discordant note that interrupts the false rhythm. It is jarring at first, but as you release resistance, the sound begins to reorganize. The dissonance eventually resolves into harmony. What once felt like destruction reveals itself as tuning. The universe was never punishing you. It was returning you to pitch. The mind often confuses stability with safety, but they are not the same. Stability can exist inside dysfunction, while true safety exists only in alignment. Chaos dismantles stability so that authenticity can take its place. You lose the job that defined your worth, the relationship that mirrored your wounds, the belief system that once made sense. In their absence, you feel lost because the old map no longer works. Yet it is precisely in that disorientation that freedom is born. Without the map, you begin to navigate by intuition, by resonance, by what feels alive. You stop chasing certainty and start following truth. The sacred function of chaos is also to expose your attachments. Here it shows you what you've been mistaking for identity. Every time something is taken from you, the question arises, who am I without this? If your answer is silence, you have met your essence. That silence is not emptiness, it is space, the same creative void from which galaxies were born. The ego fears that void because it cannot control it. But to the soul, the void is home. When everything familiar has been stripped away, you finally encounter the self that existed before the world told you who to be. There is also a psychological dimension to this sacred disorder. Neuroscience reveals that the brain reorganizes through disruption. When patterns are broken, new neural pathways emerge. It is discomfort that teaches the brain to adapt, not comfort. Spiritual chaos operates the same way. It dismantles outdated belief systems so new paradigms can take root. Every "why is this happening to me?" moment is actually your consciousness being rewired to perceive reality beyond limitation. The destruction of certainty is the birth of awareness. And yet, even in knowing this, the experience of chaos is rarely graceful. It tests every fiber of your faith. It asks you to trust without evidence, to surrender without understanding. But faith is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move even when fear remains. The universe will often reduce you to surrender, not to break you, but to teach you that your power does not depend on control. True power arises from cooperation with the current. When you stop fighting the flow, chaos loses its ability to wound. It becomes wind in your sails instead of waves against your ship. The transformation that follows chaos is not instantaneous. Like the forest after fire, there is a period of stillness, of ash and quiet rebuilding. The soil of your soul becomes fertile again, and from that fertile silence, new forms of life begin to grow. Ideas, relationships, opportunities that vibrate at the frequency of your renewed truth. The same chaos that once terrified you becomes the soil of your becoming. You begin to thank what you once cursed, realizing that without its intervention, you would still be trapped in a life too small for your spirit. Eventually, you reach a point where you can sense the rhythm beneath the disorder. You recognize that the universe has a pattern even in its dismantling. The storm is not separate from the sky. The collapse is not separate from the creation. You begin to see that chaos and order are partners in the same dance, the inhale and exhale of evolution. When you live from this understanding, you no longer beg life to spare you from change. You begin to ask instead for clarity, for courage, for coherence with the rhythm of the greater design. And that is the ultimate revelation. Chaos was never the enemy of peace. It was the catalyst of it. It came to unmake the version of you that was surviving so that you could meet the version that is alive. It came to teach you that peace is not the absence of movement, but the harmony within it. The sacred function of chaos is not to destroy your life, it is to give it back to you in truth. Every journey through chaos, surrender, and synchronicity leads to the same realization. You were never truly lost. You were being guided, shaped, and refined by an intelligence so intimate it uses your very breath as its compass. The universe was never distant. It was speaking in every pause, every disruption, every silence that forced you to listen deeper. When you look back, you begin to see the invisible architecture holding everything together, the missed chances that became blessings, the endings that became beginnings, the heartbreaks that carved space for compassion. Nothing was wasted. Every fragment of pain was used to sculpt wisdom. This is the essence of divine order disguised as chaos. It teaches you that peace is not the absence of storms, but the recognition that you are not the storm. You are the sky holding it. You were never meant to control life, only to participate in its rhythm. Once you stop fighting for certainty and begin listening for alignment, you rediscover your original power, the ability to trust what cannot yet be seen, Trust does not require proof, it creates it. And faith is not a belief that things will always go your way. It is knowing that even when they don't, something higher is still working through you. In this stillness, the distance between you and the universe disappears. The dialogue that once felt mystical becomes natural. You start to feel life breathing with you, responding to you, moving because of you. That is the quiet miracle beneath every apparent struggle. The realization that you were never separate from the intelligence that governs the stars. You are its expression, its experiment, its art. And as you live with this awareness, gratitude replaces fear, surrender replaces control, and every moment, even the painful ones, becomes evidence of grace. The universe has always been working in your favor. It just needed you to slow down long enough to notice. Do you feel it now? The quiet certainty that you were never alone in your chaos, that something greater has been guiding you all along. If this message resonated with you, subscribe to this channel so we can keep walking this path together. Every week we explore the mysteries of consciousness, manifestation, and awakening. Continue your journey by watching the next video on the screen. Let it deepen your understanding and remind you that the conversation between you and the universe never ends.